You've seen it before. A colleague says something cruel in a meeting, and no one speaks up. A friend spreads a blatant lie, and the group just nods along. A leader makes a decision that hurts thousands, and the crowd still cheers. And maybe, if you're honest, you've been one of those silent bystanders. You told yourself, "It's not my place," or "Someone else will say something." But deep down, you knew. You knew your silence was a choice. Today, I want to talk about the uncomfortable truth of why good people, intelligent, kind, well-meaning people, so often say nothing while the world quietly slides into chaos. The seductive comfort of silence. Most people imagine evil as something loud, tyrants shouting from podiums, armies marching in the streets, chaos erupting in the public square. But the truth? Evil often advances in silence, not because the majority agree with it, but because the majority are too afraid, too uncertain, or too distracted to challenge it. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who resisted the Nazi regime, called this the theory of stupidity. He argued that stupidity is more dangerous than malice, because while you can fight against evil intent, stupidity is a kind of moral blindness. A stupid person doesn't just believe the lie, they become a vessel for it, defending it as if it were truth. And here's the terrifying part. It's not always the uneducated or the foolish who fall into this blindness. Sometimes it's us. The illusion of powerlessness. One of the most common reasons we stay silent is the belief that our voice won't make a difference. What can one person do, we tell ourselves. But history shows something else entirely. In Plato's Republic, Socrates warns of the danger of letting the unexamined crowd govern. He saw democracy, without wisdom, as a ship with no captain, tossed by the loudest voices. When individuals believe they have no power, they stop steering and the ship drifts, usually toward disaster. Think about it. Every atrocity in history, every war, every genocide, every erosion of freedom was made possible not just by those who acted, but by the far greater number who did nothing. The psychology of complicity. Psychologists call it diffusion of responsibility. The more people who witness an injustice, the less likely any one person is to act. It's why a person might be attacked in broad daylight and the crowd just watches. There's also pluralistic ignorance, the belief that since no one else is reacting, maybe nothing is wrong. You look around, see everyone else's calm faces, and convince yourself you must be overreacting. And perhaps the most insidious force of all, social conformity. Nietzsche once said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." When you speak out, you risk isolation. And for most of human history, being cast out from the group wasn't just uncomfortable, it was fatal. That ancient fear still lives in us, whispering, "Stay quiet, don't stand out, survive." The Machiavellian trap. Machiavelli understood the silence well. In The Prince, he describes how rulers maintain power, not just by force, but by shaping perception. If you can convince people that dissent is dangerous, shameful, or pointless, you don't need to silence them, they will silence themselves. He knew that appearances mattered more than truth, and that people preferred the comfort of order over the discomfort of justice. And so leaders, both in politics and everyday life, use confidence as a shield, knowing that hesitation invites challenge, but certainty breeds submission. The personal mirror. Let's pause here. It's easy to think of all the ways other people stay silent. But I want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you saw something wrong and said nothing? Maybe it was at work when a decision was made that hurt someone you knew. Maybe it was in your family when an old prejudice was voiced and you laughed awkwardly instead of pushing back. Maybe it was online when lies spread in the comment section and you just scrolled past. In those moments, the line between cowardice and caution blurs. We tell ourselves it's not worth the trouble, that it's not our fight. That silence keeps the peace. But what kind of peace is it if it's built on fear? The comfortably numb majority Bonhoeffer observed that once people surrender their critical thinking to a movement, they stop acting as individuals. They become hollow, not necessarily evil, but passive. And in that passivity, evil finds fertile ground. This is why oppressive systems don't just fear the angry rebels, they fear the independent thinkers, the people who ask uncomfortable questions, the ones who refuse to chant with the crowd. Because the truth is, you don't need a violent uprising to change the world. Sometimes all it takes is breaking the spell of silence, one voice at a time. The uncomfortable truth. Here's the twist. Most of us think we'd be the hero in the story, the one who speaks out, the one who stands in the town square and tells the truth while everyone else looks away. But history suggests otherwise. When the pressure comes, when our job, our safety, our reputation is on the line, most of us will bow our heads and pretend not to see, not because we're bad people, but because we are human. And humans are wired for survival. That's the uncomfortable truth. Bravery isn't our default setting. It's a conscious choice. And it comes at a cost. A different kind of courage. Plato believed that courage was not the absence of fear, but knowing what to fear and fearing the right things. Fear of losing your job? Understandable. Fear of losing your place in the group? Natural. But fear of becoming a person who sees injustice and says nothing? That's the fear that can save a society. The world doesn't need more loud, angry voices shouting into the void. It needs more people who are willing to risk their comfort for their conscience. Your moment will come. Sooner or later, you'll find yourself in that moment. It might not be dramatic. It might be as small as correcting a lie in a conversation, or as simple as refusing to laugh at a cruel joke. But make no mistake, these moments matter. They are the bricks that build the walls of what we tolerate. When you choose silence, you hand over a little piece of your power. When you speak, you reclaim it. Final reflection. In the end, the question isn't whether you'll ever be tested. The question is, when you are, will you recognize it? And when you do, will you choose the easy path of silence or the hard, narrow road of truth? Because history is written by those who act and forgotten by those who don't.